Ladies and gentlemen, now we are witnessing the arrival of the distinguished guests of the event. So I would like to request you to please rise from your seats to welcome them. So welcome you all to the International Conference on Business Innovation. And I would like to invite our dignitaries to light the traditional oil lamp. Vice Chancellor of NSBM, Professor E.A. Veerasinghe. Keynote speakers, Professor Archie C.A. Clements, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research and Innovation, University of Plymouth, UK. Professor Roshan Gabriel Ragal, Head Department of Computer Engineering, University of Peradeniya, Sri Lanka. Deputy Vice Chancellor of NSBM, Professor Chaminda Ratnayaka. Head of Academic Development and Quality Assurance, Professor Bharth Dodankotua. Deans of the faculties, Dr. Chaminda Vijayasinghe, Madam Trinity Silva, Dr. Rasika Ranavira, Dr. Chandana Pereira, Dr. Nuwanti Katuwavela. Also, Professor Nilmini Liyanage, Dean of the Faculty of Technology, University of Sri Jayawardenepura. Dr. Damayanti Dahanayaka, Head Research Council, NSBM. Then Conference Chair, Dr. Mohammad Shafraz. Conference co-chairs, Ms. Ann Pathiranage and Dr. Samindi Jayavikrama. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome to the International Conference on Business Innovation, ICOBI 2023, centered around the theme Accelerating Societal Change Through Digital Transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a start to a day filled with insightful discussions, innovative ideas, and meaningful connections. I'm sure our speakers and participants are ready to share their knowledge and insights across different areas, and we are excited to have you all here for this enlightening experience. And ladies and gentlemen, we are so happy and proud to announce that this international conference is held for the 6th consecutive year. Well, a world-renowned scholar, Albert St. George, once said that research is to see what everybody has seen and to think what nobody else has thought. So we at NSBM think that this international conference will definitely be a platform for you to engage in impactful sessions and collaborative dialogues that shed light on the innovative strategies shaping the intersection of technology and societal advancement. We believe that today's conference will be a place to stop and reflect, to inspire and to be inspired, and it will be a place where bridges are built for intellectual discourse. So ladies and gentlemen, with that note, now the time has arrived to welcome our esteemed gathering to the 6th International Conference at NSBM Green University. Without further delay, I would like to invite Madam Tilni De Silva, the Dean of the Faculty of Business, to officially welcome the gathering. Over to you, Madam.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the International Conference, Business Innovation, ICOBI 2023. NSBM Green University organizes the 6th International Conference on Business Innovation under the theme, Accelerating Societal Change Through Digital Transformation. A university is a place where the knowledge is generated, created, shared, and also disseminated. Main activities of a university are centralized around knowledge. To be very specific, research for the generation of knowledge and teaching for the dissemination of knowledge. Living in a digital era of knowledge and information, teaching and learning has transformed to a self-driven task, making knowledge creation and generation, in other terms, the research, the main task of any university in this world. NSBM Green University, being the International University of Sri Lanka, is aiming towards contributing to the national need of providing scientific solutions to many societal issues, and ICOBI 2023 is one such attempt. I'm privileged to welcome all of you to an event of much importance and need of time. Dearest Professor A.V. Singha, Vice-Chancellor of NSBM Green University, you're the guiding light and backbone of the research culture that we are creating at NSBM Green University. We are overwhelmed by the presence of you. A warm welcome to you, sir. Our keynote speaker, Professor Archie C.A. Clemens, is the Deputy Vice-Chancellor for Research and Innovation at the University of Plymouth since September 2022. It is indeed a pleasure having you in Sri Lanka, sir, and we warmly welcome you and looking forward for your keynote. Your vast experience in the field of research itself will be an inspiration to listen to. Our next keynote speaker, Professor Roshan Gabriel Ragal, is the head of Department of Computer Engineering of Peradeniya University, Sri Lanka. Dear sir, we respectfully welcome you to the proceedings of today and looking forward for your insights on research. Dear Professor Chaminda Ratnayaka, Deputy Vice-Chancellor, NSBM Green University, Professor Bharatha Dodankotuwa, Head Academic Development and Quality Assurance, distinguished guests, Professor Nilmini Liyanage, Dean, Faculty of Technology, University of Sri Jawadhanapura, Conference Chair, Dr. Mohammad Shafraz, Deans of the faculties, members of the board, conference co-chairs, Ms. Anne Pathiranage, Ms. Piyumi Udeshini, and Dr. Samindi Javikrama, conference secretary, Ms. Gimhani Rangalla, presenters, heads, academics, non-academics, well-wishers, and dear students, I warmly welcome you officially to ICOBI 2023. NSBM Green University, in its journey to excellence, one of our key objectives is to promote scientific research and deliver impactful research to our country and to the world. From the humble beginnings, where we held the first ever research symposium with the master's students of University College of Dublin, Ireland degree back in 2013, then a student research symposium, monthly research forums, NSBM Journal of Management, PhD opportunities with Stockholm University, Sweden for academics, and the first ever ICOBI in year 2018 and annually thereafter, establishing the Research Council, establishing research centers, initiating the very own PhD program of NSBM Green University with 14 PhD candidates in 2022 and another 7 in 2023, to initiate the International Journal of Contemporary Business Research published by the Faculty of Business, and creating a status quo of nearly 20 international index publications by academics in impactful journeys. I would say it's a tremendous journey for us in developing this research culture at our university. As an academic and a researcher, I believe the impact of research towards the development of a country is massive. If we look at the statistics of countries leading to the world in scientific and technical journal articles, China leads in the first place as at today, followed by USA in second, UK in third, and India in fourth. China, USA, UK, and India, being the biggest economies of the world, surely has a huge impact from scientific research. I invite my learned and intellectual audience to initiate more impactful research, which can be a drive to accelerate the economical and societal development of our country, and especially using the advanced developments of digital technology. The need of the current time is not obviously the incremental research, but focused and impactful research. The Sustainable Development Goals are one such target set for the entire world, and it is timely that we focus our research work to the SDGs. The 17 interlinked global goals designed to be a shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for people and the planet, now and to the future. The presenters today have created valuable knowledge through their research activities in terms of 80 papers and 16 posters focusing on 14 sub-themes around accelerating societal change through digital transformation. The presenters will present in 10 parallel sessions after the main event, and we cordially invite all of you to listen to their work and encourage them. I wish a day full of sharing knowledge and idea generation through the reflections. I congratulate the conference chair, Dr. Mohammad Shafraz, conference co-chairs, Ms. Anne Udeshini and Pathiranage, Ms. Piyumi Udeshini, and Dr. Samindi Javikrama, conference secretary, Ms. Gimhani Rangalla, and the entire organizing committee for these valuable and significant endeavors. Dear presenters, good luck in your presentations. Concluding, research is to see what everybody else has seen and think what nobody else has thought. I wish that all of you here could think of the things that no one else has thought before. Thank you and have a
Knowledge in the world is expanding rapidly. Therefore, people continually need to update their lifestyles in response to this new information. As technology develops, it directly affects societal existence. Since the era of primitive communism, people have been instrumental in developing the existing society, and these characteristics have guided society to its present position and context. Today, technology is inseparable from society, and we are witnessing the significant attributes of this combination. Digital technology is distinctive due to its broader coverage across societal levels. These encompass improved efficiency and productivity, enhanced customer experience, innovation agility, data-driven decision-making, competitive advantages, cost reduction, employee empowerment. Digital technology has permeated every aspect of society, sometimes challenging rudimentary and traditional approaches that have descended from long ago. However, the world has decided to entrust the fate of countries to digital technology.
I'm announcing a new initiative, the Digital Transformation with Africa.
We have leveraged technology to transform governance. Our unique digital identity platform Aadhaar covers more than 1.3 billion of our people.
And digital technologies, which are revolutionizing financial markets, can be a game changer in reaching our shared objectives.
Global connectivity is the primary driver of transforming society into the digital world. The advent of the internet has connected people across the globe, facilitating instant communication and information exchange. Platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram have transformed the way we connect, share, and receive information. Today, these platforms wield significant power, and sometimes even a country's political stability is influenced by them. For example, the Arab Spring was largely controlled by digital media, and organizations like Cambridge Analytica orchestrated influential election propaganda based on the digital data of specific countries. We are currently witnessing reforms in education driven by digital technology. Online learning is the newest and most democratized way that enables access to learning resources. Simultaneously, virtual classrooms have been introduced to revolutionize educational reforms, changing the traditional education paradigm. Numerous rapid and positive changes have been established in society due to this digital transformation, affecting every aspect of our lives. The world is progressing with sustainable digital transformation, an imperative concept that every country should embrace for the betterment of the world. Consequently, this digital transformation aligns with sustainability goals. However, digital technology is smart enough and capable of overcoming this challenge, showcasing its immense power. Smart grids, precision agriculture, renewable energy management, and circular economy platforms are a few of the digital technology advancements profoundly linked with sustainability. While most countries are aligning their socio-economic and political context with digital technology, as Sri Lankans, we need to assess where our country stands among them. Are we prepared to embrace this technological change? Are we ready to adapt to the world's new order?
Whatever we say, we have to provide the digital infrastructure. Other is digital inclusion. Digital inclusion is necessary. Digital infrastructure, the capital, financing, and finally the digital divide. So that's what the government will have to focus initially on your digital infrastructure.
However, Sri Lanka is still unready to fully embrace digital technology. We are in the process of developing policies and an implementation framework to adapt to this technological revolution. But the question arises, are we too late, or are we on the correct path to seize this opportunity? Only empirical analysis and research can reveal the truth, providing the only solution to properly integrate this technology in Sri Lanka. ICOBI 2023, Accelerating Societal Change Through Digital Transformation, represents a significant effort by NSBM Green University to integrate technology with empirical research to strengthen Sri Lanka's development. The conference covers 13 disciplines across various scopes, and its significance lies in providing empirically based solutions with a rationale to guide the future infrastructure of digital technology. With over 80 reviewed research papers, more than 30 international reviewers, and 2 keynote speakers sharing their academic knowledge, ICOBI 2023 aims to contribute substantially to this field. One notable keynote speaker is Professor Archie Clements, Deputy Vice Chancellor for Research and Innovation at the University of Plymouth. His profound knowledge of spatial epidemiology, focusing on parasitic, bacterial and viral diseases in tropical regions, has significantly contributed to the knowledge of the next generation. His insights for ICOBI 2023 are remarkable. Professor Roshan Gabriel, the head of computer engineering at the University of Peradeniya, is a remarkable academic in his respective discipline. His profound knowledge has been utilized in many arenas in Sri Lanka to transform our country through digital technology. Digital transformation is no longer an inventive concept, it is the future of the world. A digitalized world is not just a dream but a reality. However, Sri Lanka needs to identify its position in this digitalized world without losing its identity. ICOBI 2023 has made significant efforts to make that endeavor even more successful.
Fostering societal change is at the core of NSBM's mission. And ICOBI 2023 exemplifies our commitment to accelerating this transformation through the power of digital innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, as we gather here to celebrate the scholarly discussions, it is with great respect I acknowledge the transformative vision and the immense dedication of our dear Vice Chancellor, Professor E.A. Veerasinghe, in taking this university to this level. This state-of-the-art university stands as a testament to his commitment to innovation, adaptability, and his deep understanding of the changing needs of the society. His vision has transformed the higher education landscape of Sri Lanka with no doubt. He is a true epitome of resilience and inspiration. Ladies and gentlemen, every niche, every piece of paradise you see surrounding us is his brainchild, his ambition. Without his undeniable commitment, vision, and effort, none of this would have been a reality. Of course, this conference wouldn't have been a reality if it was not for him. While thanking him for his great service to the nation, we move on to the next phase of our conference. It's with great importance that we ceremonially hand over the conference proceedings to our esteemed dignitaries. Without delay, I would like to extend a cordial invitation to these notable individuals to come on stage. First, the Vice Chancellor of NSBM, Professor E.A. Veerasinghe. Keynote speakers, Professor Archie C.A. Clements and Professor Roshan Gabriel Ragal. The Deputy Vice Chancellor of NSBM, Professor Chaminda Ratnayaka. Head of Academic Development and Quality Assurance, Professor Bharata Dodankatua. Deans of all the faculties, and Dr. Damayanti Dahanayaka, Head Research Council, NSBM. And Dr. Nilmini from the Dean Faculty of Technology, University of Sri Javadanapura, Professor Nilmini Liyanage. So to hand over the conference proceedings, I would like to invite Dr. Mohammad Shafraz, the conference chair, Dr. Samindi Jaivikrama, conference co-chair, Ms. Ann Pathiranage, conference co-chair, and Ms. Gimhani Rangala, the conference secretary. And they will be followed by the senior lecturer, Mr. Najee Saranabhavan, who will be presenting the e-proceedings to the Vice Chancellor. Ladies and gentlemen, now we are witnessing the launch of the conference e-proceedings. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you go to ICOBI website now, you may be able to see the conference e-proceedings, and you can even access your paper. And at the same time, the conference chair and the co-chairs will be presenting the proceedings to our dignitaries. It is indeed a proud moment for all of us. The International Conference on Business Innovation is being held for the 6th consecutive year. Well, now, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's time for a photograph also. So I would like to invite our dignitaries to pose for a photograph. Thank you so much, everyone. So, ladies and gentlemen, now let's proceed to introduce our esteemed keynote speaker, Professor Archie C.A. Clements. To do the honors of introducing the keynote speaker, I would like to extend an invitation to the conference chair, Dr. Mohammed Shafraz, to join us on stage.
Professor Archie C.A. Clements, with a first class honour in Bachelor of Veterinary Science from the University of Sydney, Australia, a Master of Veterinary Medicine from the University of Glasgow, Scotland, and a PhD from the Royal Veterinary College, University of London. He has been the Deputy Vice-Chancellor for Research and Innovations at the University of Plymouth since the September 2022. He is responsible for developing and implementing the university's research strategy and hold leadership roles in various committees. Before this, he was the Pro Vice-Chancellor and Executive Dean at Curtin University's Faculty of Health Science in Western Australia, and was the Director of Research School of Population and Health at Australian National University. Professor Clements is an infectious disease epidemiologist renowned for researching the spatial epidemiology, parasitic, bacterial, and viral disease in tropical regions. He has also conducted community-based intervention studies focusing on sustainable infectious disease control. During the COVID-19 period, he participated in more than 100 interviews discussing various aspects of COVID-19. Professor Archie's research publications have garnered significant attention, accumulating an impressive count of over 16,700 citations as listed on Google Scholar. Dear sir, stage is yours.
Vice-Chancellor, Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Deans and Heads, Conference Chair, staff and students of NSBM Green University and other esteemed guests, good morning and thank you for the wonderful invitation to come to Sri Lanka and to visit this absolutely stunning campus with its modern facilities in beautiful tropical gardens. It's incredibly impressive and I'm absolutely delighted to be here. As the conference chair said, I am the Deputy Vice-Chancellor for Research and Innovation at the University of Plymouth in the United Kingdom. The University of Plymouth has a long-standing partnership, or long-standing partnership with NSBM Green University, where we credential and partner on providing curriculum for a number of degree programs, and that partnership is growing and flourishing. And for us, it is our largest international partnership and our most precious international partnership. And I'm absolutely delighted to be here from the university of Plymouth to further develop that wonderful long-standing partnership. So I've been asked to talk about accelerating social change through digital transformation. And you'll have to indulge me. I'm an infectious disease researcher, I'm a public health researcher, and I see that through a public health lens. And so I'm going to illustrate societal change through digital transformation in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic, something that we've all experienced recently. Regardless of which sector you're in, it has impacted on your life. And I don't think there's any better example of a situation that accelerates social change through digital transformation than a pandemic. Oh, here we go. So COVID-19 is the first major human pandemic, and by major I mean a pandemic causing over 1 million deaths, since computers and the internet became available to the majority of the world's population. Health data are more accessible to the general public than ever. The level of immersion in data and information is unprecedented in public health, as it is in every other sector. Many organisations have been aiming to present data in a way that is engaging and of value for public consumption. And as of particular interest to me, spatial and temporal patterns of diseases are particularly important for understanding and interpreting disease risk. And much of this public consumption of data has focused on spatial and visual and data presentation, particularly maps and plots of time series. So who collated the data during the pandemic? Well, first and foremost, it's the governments of many countries and regions around the world, and then coordinated through international organisations like the World Health Organization. Academic organisations have also collated data. In particular, you may be familiar, I imagine most of you will be familiar with the Johns Hopkins University COVID-19 dashboard. There have been many government and academic collaborations, mentioned international agencies, but also there have been important non-state players in the collation and dissemination of disease data, including news media organisations and publishers like the New York Times, private companies like Worldometers and Deloitte, and indeed private individuals. And many entities from amongst this list recycle data that's been collated by other groups, in particular organisations like Johns Hopkins and the WHO. So this is the Johns Hopkins dashboard. Who's familiar with the Johns Hopkins COVID dashboard? Some people. This has probably been the most influential data visualization tool created during the COVID pandemic in terms of driving public awareness of COVID, public understanding of the global distribution of the disease and the progression of the pandemic. And you can see with this dashboard, it centres around a map of the world. And in this case, it's got dots showing the numbers of COVID cases in each location around the world. It's also got time series plots on the right, and on the left, numeric data tables. So this is very typical of the kinds of information dashboards that are created for public health data dissemination, but also in many, many other sectors. I noticed on the video that was shown that there was a dashboard that looked quite similar to this, used in a corporate setting or potentially in a government setting. So this is a very common approach now to online dissemination of information that is of public importance. So in terms of how these dashboards were created, there was a process of data extraction and processing, and the systems for doing this evolved rapidly during the pandemic. So if we talk about the Johns Hopkins COVID-19 dashboard, during the early stages of the pandemic, data extraction and processing was done manually. So there was a small team of individuals who took data from national reporting systems, from the WHO, and from other sources, and they manually input it into a database that then linked to the dashboard so that they could map disease data in near real time. During the later stages of the pandemic, the Johns Hopkins COVID-19 dashboard moved to semi-automated data extraction and entry. This is largely because of the increase in the volumes of data and the variety of sources of information that became available. And I think this reflects one of the advantages of non-official, non-state actors mobilising to support the public dissemination of information during a pandemic, in the ability for them to rapidly evolve and incorporate technological innovation in the work, so that the public could get timely information and receive maximal awareness of what was happening during the pandemic. So what variables were presented in these COVID-19 dashboards? Well, most of them initially focused on epidemiological data, on cases and deaths, and these included raw counts and metrics that were normalised by population to give information about disease risk. And then they also expanded to include data on things like health service utilisation, including hospitalisations, intensive care admissions, ventilator use and testing coverage. And then I should say, as the pandemic evolved, they also started to incorporate data on vaccine coverage. Once the vaccines were discovered, once they were produced and disseminated as the most important public health response to the pandemic, then these COVID-19 dashboards incorporated information on vaccine coverage to ensure that, so that the public was aware of the level of rollout of that particular intervention. Additionally, as the pandemic progressed, the dashboards became more specialised and incorporated different data sources, including mapping of population mobility, urban environmental suitability for social distancing, moral capacity, and other important variables. And then epidemiological intelligence started to be incorporated through the building of risk prediction models and other analytic approaches to the data. And I mentioned the vaccine rollout. So not only did these dashboards produce maps, but they also produced time series plots, which showed the progression of the pandemic over time. Here we have a time series at the top that's shown on a logarithmic scale, which is really important for showing the speed of propagation of the pandemic. And on the bottom, we're seeing plots in histograms of raw data showing epidemiological curves. This is really interesting because for me, as an epidemiologist, the COVID pandemic was the first time where the general public became aware of epidemiological principles and discussed them as part of the daily vernacular relating to things like epidemic curves, R0, so reproductive rates of pandemics, and epidemic peaks and vaccine coverage. All of these epidemiological principles became part of the public discourse for the first time. It was very interesting. So what data sources were used? So there was official data on COVID-19 cases and deaths. This included data that was collected at health centres, from hospitals and clinics, data that was collected from diagnostic laboratories, death records, vaccine registries and adverse event surveillance. All of these are public sources of public data, official data from disease reporting and vaccine registry systems. And then this information was combined with census data and other forms of population data to estimate disease incidence. But there was also a lot of non-official or alternative sources of data that were incorporated into these dashboards, including things like Twitter feeds, news reports, and direct contribution from contributors. So we can see that there was an evolution that stepped outside of the official reporting systems that involved the state and brought in many informal sources of information that were of value for public health decision making. How are the data presented? Through static presentation, so maps, time series, charts, tables, but also dynamic and interactive online platforms such as the Johns Hopkins dashboard. Here we have some more examples of time series. This is data from the New York Times. These are static representations of data showing progression of the pandemic over time, showing the numbers of new cases, hospitalizations, tests, and deaths. And here we have an alternative presentation of time series data. This is on a logarithmic scale, showing how the pandemic progressed in different countries of the world, where the steps are related to epidemic waves. And this gives an indication of the speed of propagation of epidemics in different countries of the world. So these are static representations of data. And in contrast, we have the the dynamic representations. So through these online dashboards, which are computerized systems with an underlying database and a web-based user interface. And these are highly interactive, allowing the user to select variables of interest and plot or map them in different formats, and to drill down into particular jurisdictions or levels of aggregation to query the data. All of this could be done by the general public on their mobile phones or in their lounge room or in their bedroom on their laptop in a way that had never been done before. Here we have an example of the New York Times COVID dashboard. We see here a choropleth map. So a choropleth map is one where the variable of interest, the values of that variable are reflected on a colour scale. And so this enables us to identify hotspots of disease transmission, as we can see here in the United States. This is a dynamic dashboard and enables you to hover over locations, click on particular counties of the US and look at trends over the preceding 2-week period. So highly interactive, multiple different variables can be looked at, as you can see on the panel at the top. Another good example of an online data visualization platform for COVID-19. So there were many challenges in terms of accessibility to data during the COVID pandemic by the general public. One of the major challenges to open access to data and information were the paywalls that were used by a number of the corporate entities who were distributing data, for example, the New York Times. There were challenges relating to privacy and confidentiality that limited the minimal levels of data aggregation that you could go down to. So you may not be able to go down to the level of a town or a neighbourhood because of issues around privacy and confidentiality. There are issues around configuration of platforms for mobile phone viewing to maximise access. So people live their lives through a mobile phone these days, and so there are significant challenges in being able to visualise data on such a small screen. And so those are significant challenges that were worked on during the pandemic. Some platforms had limited access due to sensitivity of data, so you may only be able to access the data if you were a member of, if you had official authorization to do so. And platform hosts may want to control data and visualization outputs to ensure appropriate use. And so in many instances, the public couldn't do what they wanted with the data. They were limited in terms of their ability to query the data on the basis of what the platform owners wanted them to see. Significant challenges around data quality, which is critical to public trust and good decision making. Transparency around sources of data and limitations of the data are really important. So when you communicate information through a platform, you need to make it clear to the general public where the data comes from, what the issues are around data quality, so that individuals can make informed choices and decisions on the basis of the information that they're provided. Another important challenge around data quality was political interference, or the perception thereof, which can limit trust. So, for example, if you recall, during the pandemic, the President of the United States challenged the quality of the information that was presented through the official reporting systems in order to pursue a particular political objective. And that political interference impacted on the public acceptance of the official statistics. And so that's another really important challenge. And I think we all need to understand in the modern era, pandemics are inherently political events, as well as being social and economic events. They're not just health events. There are many common sources of imperfect data quality and consistency, including underreporting, changes in diagnostic approaches, changing in reporting definitions, and error. And all of these need to be acknowledged and communicated. So in terms of evaluating these online information platforms, there's actually been very limited formal evaluation that's been conducted to date. I found sort of towards the end of the pandemic that there had only been one comprehensive international study that had looked at evaluating these online data dissemination platforms. And they used a number of criteria for how they evaluated the platforms. including knowing and clearly stating the desired consumers of the information, selecting presenting appropriate indicators, stating the sources and methods used to generate indicators, demonstrating variations over time and linking changes to public health interventions, providing high spatial resolution information, disaggregating data to population subgroups, providing narrative information to enhance interpretation of the data by consumers. Okay, so what lessons did we learn? Firstly, I think, and most importantly, I think, is that we learned about the important role of non-state actors. So the corporate sector, private individuals, media organisations, the public. These organisations were all very active in collecting, analysing, synthesising and disseminating public health information. So that was fantastic in many ways. So it ensured greater accountability. When the President of the United States challenged the COVID data, there were many, many different sources of information that were able to confirm the scale of the pandemic, the number of people who were dying. And so there was greater political accountability as a result of the involvement of non-state actors. Also, non-state actors were more able to rapidly mobilise technological solutions and technological innovations in a way that state actors would never be able to do. So those were fantastic elements of the involvement of non-state actors. However, on the flip side, there was less control of public health messaging, and consistent, clear, controlled public health messaging is really important during pandemics, because that's what builds public trust in the information that they're receiving, and that's what builds public trust in the interventions that are being put in place, some of which are incredibly disruptive, including shutting down travel, shutting down businesses, making people stay at home. Major disruptive interventions. And if the public didn't trust the information that they were being provided, then that undermined the effectiveness of those interventions. And so, because we've got a much greater involvement now in non-state actors, there's a much greater need for public-private collaboration and also for regulation. And then, as I pointed out, there was very little systematic evaluation that was conducted on the visualization platforms and technological solutions that were used. And so therefore there needs to be, in the future, a much stronger focus on systematic evaluation, on the systems for data sharing, international collaboration, quality and standards, regulation, and the data dissemination and visualization. So future developments moving forward to the next pandemic, and the next pandemic is coming, and it won't be 100 years until the next pandemic because of the the globalization that we all experience, and the globalization of our economy, the movement of commodities, the movement of people, the fragmentation of natural environments, the greater interface between humans and sylvatic or wild animals. So the next pandemic will come, and it will come sooner than the gap between the previous pandemic and COVID-19, and so we need to learn. So there will be a greater focus on public and private sector cooperation. Governments will need to acknowledge the importance of non-state actors. They'll need to collaborate with them, and they'll need to work out how to manage their involvement. There'll be new regulations at a national and an international level. There'll be a re-evaluation of the role of international organisations. The WHO wasn't the main player in the global response to the COVID pandemic. It was very much the private sector and individual governments. And finally, there will be a much greater role of artificial intelligence, and that will include how we collate and synthesize information in real time, artificial intelligence that will be used to extract data and information from a variety of different sources, collate that information, synthesize it, and interpret and disseminate it. Artificial intelligence will be used to drive public health messaging, and also to promote agendas that are and potentially are not in the public interest. And so I think that'll be a significant change for the next pandemic. That's all I was going to say. Thank you so much for listening to my talk, and I look forward to moving on to the next presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your thoughts with us. So we requested him to stay on stage for a while because we have a small token of appreciation for you, sir. So to present the token of appreciation, I would like to invite the Deputy Vice Chancellor of NSBM, Professor Chamindra Ratnayaka, accompanied by Dr. Mohammad Shafraz, the conference chair. Thank you so much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, now we are in for a treat as we move on to the next item on the agenda. It's surely an enchanting musical performance that promises to captivate your hearts. Without further ado, please put your hands together for Pinidi Senaviratna from our very own music club at NSBM. Thank you so much, Penidhi, for that enchanting performance. So now it's time to introduce our second keynote speaker, Professor Roshan Gabriel Ragal. To do the honors of introducing him, I would like to invite the conference co-chair, Madam N. Pathiranage, to join us on stage.
Dr. Roshan Ragal was appointed a senior lecturer in computer engineering at the University of Peradeniya in December 2007 and has been a professor since October 2017. He has been a professional member of the IEEE and the IEEE Computer Society since 2005 and a senior member since 2014. Professor Ragal has co-authored over 200 peer-reviewed articles on the Internet of Things, wearable computing, bioinformatics, and artificial intelligence and machine learning. He was won several Best Paper Awards in conference papers, the most prolific Sri Lankan Author Award from Elsevier Research in 2017, and the Presidential Award for Scientific Publication in Sri Lanka in 2018 and 2023. He was also named the top scientist in computer science in Sri Lanka by the AD Scientific Index in 2021 and 2022, and the best scientist in computer science in the country in 2023-2024. With his present H index of 23, he is also recognized as a Tier 4 awardee under the Transparent Research Performance Scheme introduced by the University Grants Commission Sri Lanka. He was a visiting researcher scholar at the University of New South Wales, Sydney many times, Queensland University of Technology, Brisbane, University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, Illinois, and Australian National University, Canberra once each. Professor Ragal is also the Consultant Chief Executive Officer at the Lanka Research and Education Network, the chair of the ASIAT Connect Steering Committee, and a board member of Asia Pacific Advanced Networks. At the national level, Professor Ragal was a core group member for higher education at the Presidential Task Force for Education set up in 2020. He is a member of the UGC Standing Committee on the Development of IT Infrastructure and Online Education and member of the UGC Appointed Committee to develop the concept of virtual hybrid university. He also serves as a member of Presidential Committee to formulate the AI strategy for Sri Lanka, a committee formulated recently with the advancement of generative AI. He is also a founder of the AI Forum for Academics. This academic syndicate explores the opportunities and challenges of generative AI in higher education based at the University of Peradeniya. Professor Roshan Ragal is an innovative educator, empowering researcher, and strategic and inspirational leader. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. That is a very long introduction. I'm humbled by the introduction, and thank you. And thank you for having me here and to speak to you all on education. Right, so I thought now that the conference is in a lot of different, very multidisciplinary with a lot of areas, so one that covers all the areas, and the theme of a university is education. So I thought I'll talk about education and how digital transformation can change or is changing education. So that's the idea of my talk, and its title with the new trends. It's titled Generative AI in Education. So digital transformation, how it's changing societal advancements, matching to the theme of your conference. Now that I got a very long introduction about myself, so I'll skip that. And I'll start with a question. So how many of you think, I see most of you are students and I also see a few teachers. So how many of you think that you can get A's, all of you can get A's to all the courses that you learn here at the university? Show of hand. At least some teachers who have some belief in their students? Nobody? Okay, thank you, sir. So not many. That's a bit saddening, but I hope I can convince you, right, towards the end that it's possible. Right, so, yeah, so, in fact, long time back, someone in the name of Benjamin Bloom, who has done a lot to education and very popular in the education domain, in 1984, has proposed a problem called the 2 sigma problem. So I'll start my talk by explaining what the 2 sigma problem is and what Benjamin Bloom is talking about, right? Yeah, it's a graph. I hope it's not that complicated to explain. Let me figure out how to. Maybe I'll just move, right? Don't worry. So the graph on the x-axis, you have performance. Let's assume grades, right? So grades of students. So, and on the y-axis, you have the number of students who are achieving that grade, right? From a teacher's perspective, students, you all students, you might not know, most of you, teacher's perspective or the administrator's perspective, they are expecting the students to be normal, right? Normal meaning normal, although there are some mathematical, technical term to it, but let's just say normal, right? So normal people, right? So normal, and they have what we call a normal distribution, right? The purple color curve. So the purple color curve shows the performance of a class, right? So if you put all the classes together, it's again the same, right? So you have to have your performance, however it is measured. Let's say it's measured using a GPA, right? It has to have a similar curve, meaning there are students who are like in the middle, right? So somewhere here, right? So with the maximum number of students, remember the y-axis is the number of students. So the maximum number of students will have the middle grade, and then on both sides, you have a lower number of students, right? So the lower amount of the lower grade, lower number of students, the highest possible grade, again, lower number of students. I'm talking about the purple graph, purple line, right? So that's the usual normal distribution of a class, right? And then somewhere in 1984, as it was mentioned there, Benjamin Bloom, but he has shown using research with some studies is that it's possible for us to improve student performance by 2 sigma. So sigma stands for mathematical term, standard deviation. So basically, don't have to understand all that. It's just you can improve grades. Right? You can improve grades by actually 2 standard deviations. So you can see that the graph, the light blue and the dark blue, they are improved grades, right? So what happens when you improve grades? What happens when the students improve grades? More students, as you can see now, the further away, the graph on the further on the other side is having a lot of students with very high performance, right? With a 2 sigma improvement. So what did Bloom do, or what did the researchers who did this study do to get to the best grade possible, something like what is shown there? What they had done is 2 things. They had done 2 things in 2 steps. The first step is, that is mentioned there in light blue, mastery learning. So we are starting from the conventional learning. By the way, there's a number 1-30, which means every teacher or the 30 students have one teacher, right? 1:30. In fact, the Sri Lankan system, the university system, the University Grants Commission recommends a better number than that, right? So for engineering, the numbers are somewhere like 12, right? So for medicine, it's about 10. Social sciences, it's a bit higher, right? So it's about 20. But 30 is even a very not so good number in terms of how we have defined our standards, right? So 1:30. So if you have one teacher for every 30 students, conventionally, you have the normal curve. The same number, if you practice what is known as mastery learning, you can go by the light blue color, which is 1 sigma. If you do tutoring 1-1, which is like one-to-one learning, every student has a teacher, right? So if every student has a teacher in the classroom, then you can do 2 sigma improvement. So obviously it's not practical, right? How practical it is to have one student for each teacher in a university like this. Half of this class, the room will be filled by teachers, right? Interesting, but obviously not possible. The Vice Chancellor and the Deputy Vice Chancellor will agree with me, right? So it's not possible. So it's not possible, it's not very practical. But in terms of practicality, yes, it's not. But it's something that we can achieve. It's something that is possible in terms of, remember the question I asked. So the question I asked is whether you all can get A's for all the courses, right? So if you have the right teacher, or if you have one teacher for each one of you, yes, the answer is yes, right? So just to, on the side note, what it also means is if you achieve 2 sigma improvement, which also means every student in this dark blue curve is almost every student, you can see except for this part. Every other student in this dark blue curve is better than the average student in a normal class, right? So in fact, 98%, that is what the second statement there says. So 98, actually more than 98% of the students, they can achieve better grade than the average student in the class, right? So 98%, that's like almost everybody. So obviously almost everybody can also achieve really good grades, right? So this, in fact, I learned a little later, although it was published in 1984, I learned it only recently. But I had this concern, why can't we make students achieve the best grade possible? I hope you understand what I mean here, right? I'm not just talking about giving the best grade to a student, right? That is not my intention. I'm very stingy in giving grades, by the way, right? So it's not about giving grades. So it's about making sure the students learn, achieve their objective, right? The learning objectives, whether we can make them achieve it. So how do we evaluate or how do we assess is by looking at the grades. That's the understanding, right? So now that we figured out, or in fact like in 1984 it was proven that it's possible to achieve good grades, but practically not possible, right? So that's what we are discussing. So practically, that is in fact why Bloom presented this as a problem, not as a solution, right? So it's a problem. It's a problem. Why? Yes, it's possible, but it's not doable, right? It's not practical. So therefore, it's a problem, right? So that's why it was presented as a problem. So let's see whether we can do anything about solving this problem using digital transformation. Remember, that's why we are here, right? We are here to talk about digital transformation, how it can change our life, right? The social impact, right? So how it can change life. That's the idea. So I'm saying digital transformation, yes. Can we use it to solve this problem? Then we sort of have solved the learning problem. It's sort of the most difficult learning problem to solve. In fact, that is what Bloom was challenging. And why it is difficult, I already have just highlighted. One, it's not possible to replicate one-to-one tutoring, right? So it's not possible to scale it. I hope those who are here, you have gone through your advanced levels. Those who have done well in your advanced levels, and you know, like the advanced level is the most difficult exam in this country, still, right? So those who have done well in the advanced level, and now that you are in the universities, and most of you would have tried this one-to-one, your personal tutoring, right? So why do we do it? Because we think we can do better, right? So therefore, it's not something very new in terms of idea as well. It's a known idea, right? So can we do it in a scale at an institutional level, not as a personal level, right? That is the question. In a university, can we do it? Not just in a personal level. So practically, yes, we need obviously a lot of resources. Like I told you, we need resources, half teachers, half students in a university, which is not really going to be working, right? So it's not possible. So that's like way ahead of what even the standardizing system or standardizing institution in a country is asking for. So it's not possible. It's not practical to do it. Right? So like I said, let's see whether we can use some technology, digital transformation, and particularly in the new era of generative AI, can we do something about it, right? So that is what we are going to see today. So how I will do this talk is, first I'll show you what I have done in the last few years related to this using digital transformation, what I have done and what I have achieved in my classes, and my colleagues who we are discussing and trying to do the same thing and achieving. And the second one is, can we use generative AI, which is a very new technology. Although generative AI is reasonably old, about 5 years old, it's being in the mass field and like in the society for the last year or so. In fact, like exactly 1 year, right? So November 2022, and it's November 2023 now. So 1 year, how much generative AI has done, and the potentials it has, and can we take it forward and achieve or solve this problem? That is what I wanted to discuss in the rest of the time I have here. I'll start with another graph. So this graph is something not from Bloom, it's from me, my classes, right? So my classes, I'm again showing two numbers, a series of two numbers. One, numbers which are in red. Let's assume a class of 100 students. In fact, like this class change in number over time, but the comparisons are among the same group or with the same group. So let's assume the number of students are 100 and their performance in a class. So we are doing this teaching and learning in a class using some ideas coming from digital transformation. With that idea, can we improve learning, right? So we are starting with the red color one. If you take like 2013, for instance, we had the incoming student performance, which is 3.47. I'm calculating it from based on the GPA of a class GPA, which is not normally used, but I'm using it here. And then the second number is the outgoing class, right? In fact, for all these years, I'm teaching this class, right, with my colleagues, let's say, right? So you can see even compared to the incoming class, the outgoing class is having lower performance, right? And then you can see somewhere in 2016, 2017, then there's a significant improvement in terms of number, the blue color bar, right? And the numbers keep increasing to some extent. There are variations, but variations in the incoming and also outgoing. So it's not like I can make a research finding or a conclusion based on this data as of now, but you can see some trends, right? So how I was able to achieve these trends, things like what has happened there, and things like what has happened there, right? So I attribute almost all that happened here to a digital transformation, right? So how we can use technology to enable or make learning better. right? So obviously with that, technology doesn't come alone. Technology are a tool, they are just tools. They are just assisting us, and we as human has to be in the middle, right? Even generative AI, as you might know, I assume almost all of you are aware of generative AI and using those tools in your learning, teaching and learning, and then your teachers are in fight with you on what's going on there, right? So with that in mind, we always have to have the human in the loop, right? So human in the middle of these tools is very important. Same applies to the process here what I'm discussing as well. Not just generative AI, any technology, right? So digital transformation is, we are considering it as a transformation with a lot of technologies and mindset involved, and the cultural changes involved, as it was presented earlier in the intro video. So those changes that is done. So what did I do, or how did I do it, right? So if you are interested in knowing how this was possible, how I was able to change or improve the performance in these places, right? So like I said, I'm also using ideas, techniques to improve it in aligning with what Bloom has identified in their research. One, mastery learning, the other one-to-one tutoring. So obviously we can't achieve, or we were not able to achieve in the past, one-to-one tutoring in an institutional level, but whether it's possible, right? So that's a question we wanted to ask and get some answers by the end of this talk. So just to take a step back and think about digital transformation, and particularly in education, what it can do to us, or what it can do to the education, teaching, learning community, right? So one, why we were talking about digital transformation in education to achieve these major objectives, and there are a lot of minor ones. One, enhance accessibility and inclusion, right? So with digital transformation, it's possible for us to make education accessible to everyone and anyone, and meaning we also can include anyone out there, right? So we don't really have to have a lot of classroom, a lot of infrastructure. With limited infrastructure, we will be able to do better. So we have seen it during COVID, as it was mentioned earlier. So the COVID was a situation where we have seen a lot of digital transformation happening, including in education, right? So that's one. And we can make a lot of decisions based on data. Making decisions based on data is very useful, including in learning. So how students learn, their behavior, the way how they learn, it all can be figured out by looking at learning data, student behavior in classes and so on. So that's possible. And obviously we can manage cost, we can have globalized education, so education can become like global. In fact, during COVID, we were also able to get access to MOOC platforms, which are very popular around the world. We started using them a lot, right? So our students started learning using them a lot. So because of the transformation, the material becoming available online were very useful, right? So these were ideas that we always know, right? So they are not very new. We know them for a while, right? So we use these ideas to improve learning, achieving better grades. So let me now go into, that's just a background on digital transformation in education specifically. And let me go into specifics of what I did, or what we did, right? So one, we focused on this mastery of material, right? So, or mastery learning, in other words. Right? So in fact, like even Bloom, for 1 sigma, what he is contributing is the mastery of learning, or mastery learning. So 1 sigma mastery learning, another sigma is tutoring, one-to-one. So you have to do both to have 2 sigma improvement, right? So mastery of material, what do we mean? So can we make sure every student master the material or the content or the learning outcome in a class? That is what we mean by getting a grade, A grade, right? So what do you mean by getting an A grade for all the students, meaning the student get everything right, understand everything that's required for a in a class, right? So in a class, in a course. So what I argue is, now that we are talking about an institution that teaches and expect learners to learn, why would we expect anything else other than getting all this done, mastery, right? Do we expect anything else from our students, right? As teachers, we never do. Although none of the teachers raised hand except one or two for my question about A, right? So that is what we expect, right? So what we are expecting is everybody to learn to the best. That's the expectation. So expectation-wise, there's no problem. We don't at least see a problem. So maybe there is a mindset problem, little, right? So we have this mindset that, okay, not everybody can get here. What does it mean, right? Can everybody be really good? Why not, right? Why not, right? So that's one. And our system, the way how we do education, particularly the university education or higher education, focuses on something else. It focuses on grading. Where are we using these grades? Is one, to see how fast somebody can learn, right? So we give a 14 weeks or a 15 weeks or a 10 weeks and say, okay, these are the material, this is the volume, 15 credits of volume, which means 15 into 50 number of hours, so 400 hours of learning. All this, you have to do it in 10, 15 weeks or 15 weeks. Now, if you are a little late, you are not good, right? So you have to be fast learner. The other aspect that is coming in is, like not every one of you, every one of the students, they don't come through the same path, and therefore they don't have the same starting point, right? So even my graph I was showing you, the input is not the same. They are not at the same starting point. They don't start at the same place in any learning exercise. Different students have, or different learner has different starting point, right? So someone who is ahead in the learning process on a particular topic can get better grade compared to someone who is later, or who is not ahead. Which doesn't mean this person who is not ahead is a bad learner. It doesn't also mean this person is not a fast learner. Only thing is he or she came through a path where he or she had some experience in this particular topic, right? So the grades we are giving to students when they finish a class, it doesn't really reflect the learning itself. It reflects other things. That is the point, right? So these are things that are coming into picture related to mastery learning, meaning these are how we are looking at it, but obviously what we are expecting to do is to make sure everyone learns everything that is in that class. Can we do it? So these are some graphs I just missed, but like I was telling you, if you take 3 different students, A, B, C, one, they could be different. So x-axis is the time, y-axis is how much they learn, right? So you can see A, B, C, they will be, A, B, C are 3 different students. We can also assume A, B, C are 3 different grades of a class of students, right? So A grade means the students, let's assume all of them started at the same point. Meaning they all had nothing to know about that particular module, then all can achieve. So those who are achieving A are fast learners, B, C are slow, right? So do we want to, when you are giving grades, are we talking about giving grades to fast learners, right? So if you give a little more time, like I am showing in the second graph, if you give a little more time, it's possible to make all A, B, C achieve the full. The only thing is, we are not giving that extra time. So giving time doesn't mean we have to really give additional time or stretch time, right? So when there are requirements, you find time, right? So if you take a week, in a week, right? How many hours you are expected to learn? Let's say 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 40 hours. Even 2 days, you have more than 40 hours, right, in a week. So if you need a little more time, so if you take this graph, the student C needed a little more time. can that little more time stretch within a week or within the semester, within that period, so the student take a little more time, not by extending the learning period, but by putting more effort into the shorter time. So for doing that, we need a lot of data. We need to understand which students are these students while it's happening and enable them to do it, right? So tell them, okay, looks like you are lagging a bit, do more learning, spend more time. You have time, sleep less, play less, I don't know, right? So whatever. So it's possible to encourage students to do it if you understand what's really going on, right? So that's one side of it. One side of it is time. It's not only time, it's also other resources, human resources and all that, right? So another aspect to it is coming from this proverb. So it's basically about when you have something to learn, it's become difficult if you accumulate, let it accumulate, right? So you break it. You break it into smaller parts and make sure in the smaller parts you achieve, right? So you can see here in the first graph, what I'm showing is it's possible to break it at certain points and make sure all A, B, C are coming together at each point, right? So this is something else I tried as well. So the technique is called consolidation. So in a let's say in a 15 weeks semester, you have 5 consolidation sessions. Every 3 weeks, you make sure everybody come together. Everybody come together in the sense everyone come together in terms of learning, make sure that they all know what's expected and so on. Right? So that's something that you can try. Right? So just to summarize, without going into a lot of details due to the interest of time, one, what I did is to use technology to improve or add more time to the learning of the students. I used an idea called flipped classroom, not a very new thing. So the idea is you let students to consume content outside the usual teacher-student interaction. So the consumption of content, material, happens outside using technology. Teacher is not going to be directly involved. So you remember the problem we had, one of the problems we had is we don't have enough teachers to student, right? So one, give the content, let the students be outside, look at a tool, use a tool, and learn or consume content, and then come to the class where teacher can spend more time individually addressing students to their concerns that they have, instead of addressing the whole class at once and spending time without giving individual attention, personal attention. Right? So there's a place, like this is the concern, right? Even from the teacher's perspective, teachers might wonder, how can I put one-to-one time with the students? So it's obviously not completely possible, but we can do things like this to give more time to the teacher, right? So the teachers can do better. That's one. A very good tool that I'm using is called Perusal. It's a tool came out of a university in US, and it's called a social learning platform, where students can come in, we can put learning material like video lectures, we can put books, textbooks and so on. So the learners can come together and they can interact with the material. Meaning they can look at how each others can comment, put like annotation, highlight parts, ask questions, somebody else can answer. The good part about it, in addition to letting the learners to interact with each other and learn, the teacher can get a lot of statistics out of it. The teacher can look at the interaction that happened and figure out which student is doing what. Remember? So you have to know which student is an A student, which student is a C student at this point, so that we can bring everybody to an A student. Right? So to do that, we need data. So the data comes through the platform. So not just the data about the student, even about the learning material, it comes through the platform. The platform will tell you, out of this, let's say, a video of 1 hour, this 10 minutes parts seems to be the most difficult part. The other 50 minutes are easy to grab. So then I can take that time in my interaction with the students for that 10 minutes. Spend more time, go and talk to each student, figure out what's going on. So that's one. The other one I tried, or I'm trying and doing, is peer instruction. Now that we are worried about not enough teachers, why don't we make all the learners teachers, right? So that's another idea. I mean, I'm sure it's not a new idea to universities. Universities do it, meaning the students do it, right? So students, you all learn in groups. You have your own within your group, you have somebody to teach you maths, somebody to teach you statistics, somebody to teach you calculus. If you take a domain like that, I don't know, so business, different topics. So, but you have people who are good at various different topics, and you go and talk to them and learn from those within the group, right? So why don't you formalize? Why don't you bring it to the class, right? That's what I did with the peer instruction. In fact, this idea is again not new. It came from a paper from 2000 or 1990 somewhere. We use several tools. So tools like polling tools, where you can ask questions and learners in small group to work together and make sure within the small group is very small, like 2 or 3. Within the group, they come to consensus on certain topics, learning, right? So you, let's say you take a group of 3 students, you put 2 students who know the topic, the third student who don't know. Then we don't have to do anything. We just ask them to find an answer to a question. What they will do is they'll come together and the 2 students will teach the third one. I don't have to really teach, right? So how? Because the 2 students know the answer, the third one doesn't know. Then what happens? All 3 put together and ask a question, and we have to make sure, tell them, okay, all 3 should know the answer and the reason for the answer. They teach each other. So that's peer instruction. And I already mentioned about consultation sessions. So you break it into smaller smaller time. So if you have a 15-week semester, you break it into 3 weeks, and you bring them together, have group discussions, make sure they all, and do some small assessments, evaluation, continuous assessment, or formative assessment, whatever you call them, right? So small quizzes, projects, and so on, to make sure you all come together and do better. Something else I added to all this, like all these are reasonably good, but we still need more people. We still need more people. This is, by the way, all what I'm presenting now are pre-generative AI, right? So remember, I started in the graph started in 2013 and did the improvements in 2016. Generative AI was not in education at that time, just started now. So this, one other thing we did is these casual demonstrators. The idea is to recruit senior students as demonstrators to junior students in the class. Right? So what we are doing is from like a 3rd year class, we identify a few students who can come and help a 2nd year class. Right? So that's sort of an arrangement, right? Which is a large number of students. For instance, every 10 or 8 or even 5, some situation, there's just one demonstrator to 5 students. Right? So we reduce the number, but because it's not possible to have teachers. It's not possible to have so many teachers in a class, in a university or an institution. So that's another idea we tried. All this we tried, and I'm putting some tools around it because we also use these tools for those interactions. It's not always face-to-face, but whenever possible we did. But otherwise, it's all using a lot of different tools. I'm not going to go into all the details of these tools. I have another talk on how, more detail on how I did it. It's like a more than 1 hour long talk. So I have a YouTube video on it. Those who are interested, you can scan the QR code. I'm not sure whether you are going to get the slides shared. If so, you can just take it from there. Right. So that's what I did. Basically, these 4 things. With those 4 things, I was able to improve the grades a lot. Right. So you have seen them in the graph what I was showing you earlier. Right. So, but can we do anything better? Can we do better? So we have done something, but we have used a lot of human resources, we have used this and that, but we are still not achieve a perfect answer, like meaning not every student got an A. You saw that, right? So we didn't have a 4 out of 4 GPA in the end. So we can obviously do better. And now that there is more technological advancement, can we do better in that sense, right? So as the technology or the digital transformation improves various aspects, things like now artificial intelligence is coming into picture, and there are a lot of other technologies that are coming into picture, things like virtual reality coming into picture. With AI and virtual reality, we can do a lot more in terms of learning experience. Right? So can we bring that in? In terms of Internet of Things, can we bring that in? In terms of adaptive learning, right? So the idea of things like adaptive learning, usually what we do, adaptive learning is to give different experience to different learner based on how they learn, right? So the learning process adapts based on the learner. It's personalized, so each learner. So if you do one-to-one, obviously that's what you do. One-to-one, teachers don't go and teach students or have that learning experience, which is not custom built for or made for that particular student. Because there's no point. One-to-one, teacher will ask, okay, do you know this? Do you know that? Okay, go to the next one. Or you don't know this, so shall we do this further? So that's how a personalized one-to-one learning happens. Not like in a class like this, where everybody go through the same process and expecting a better outcome for all at the same time, which is like impossible to do, right? So can we do better with generative AI? That's the question, right? Or in fact, like there are more technologies here, but I just wanted to talk a little more about generative AI. So as you know, generative AI is part of AI, and particularly part of it came out of the deep learning part of it. And generative, as you know, the artificial intelligence can now generate, right? So generate text, generate other things, right? What can it generate? Just an example, if you take the generative AI coming from this company called OpenAI, which went through a lot of recent popularity, right? So if you know about what they are doing, so something like OpenAI or their tool called ChatGPT, DALL-E, and all that other similar tools, a suite of tools they have, and all the plugins they have, you can do a lot of different things. You can generate a lot of different things. You can generate, or you can make a lot of changes. You can have video analyzers. You can have immersive reading. You can have form recognition, and all sorts of different things you can do to some extent. And it keeps improving every day, right? I don't know whether you noticed, most of these images that I have here are all generated from generative AI, right? So these images are coming from generative AI. All these images are coming from generative AI. I just asked generative AI, give me an image for how a flipped classroom will look like. Or give me an image for peer instruction. Give me an image for consultation session, right? And I got these images in no time, right? So that's how I got these images. If you're wondering, I searched somewhere or I made these images from someone, no, right? So that's how it all happened, right? So it's possible to do a lot of changes. It's possible to make a lot of improvements, right? So I'll, for the interest of time, I'll just, so there are plenty of tools that also we can use to make these changes, improvements. There are tools on various aspects of learning and also obviously work or anything else that we do in life, right? So what I believe is it's possible to go beyond the usual resource limitation by using generative AI, right? Without me talking about it a lot, I'll just skip all this, and maybe I'll just quickly show this. This is something happening in the University of Hong Kong, where the researcher mentioned there, or the professor, has even apparently written books in a very short amount of time, like 30 hours, a book on a particular topic. So it's possible to do such things. Obviously, you know, like the tools have its limitation, and therefore human in the loop, I mentioned earlier, human in the loop, right? So we had to be there as in between the tool and what we expect as the outcome. We can't expect the tool to do everything right. The tool has a lot of problems. Tool has its own limitations. The tool is not as good as learning as us, as human. Apparently, the tool is not as good as learning as cats or even something else like a cockroach, right? So it's not as good as us in learning, but it's learning and doing something, right? So let's use it, and it's easier than having our own human resources. So that's it, and also there's a lot of documentation. This is particularly for teachers, come out of organizations like UNESCO. I'm also working with them on certain aspects related to how generative AI can be used in education. The documents I just mentioned, so that you can go and have a look. So I'll finish this quickly with a video from a TED Talk. Right, so the TED Talk link is there. Let me play the video. So it, in fact, like the TED Talk is coming from Salman Khan, the one who runs Khan Academy. I assume all of you are familiar with Khan Academy, a MOOC platform right? So this talk is very recent, few months old, about how generative AI is changing Khan Academy and their AI bot called Khan Migo, what it's doing. So it's possible for all of us, particularly those who are running universities, institutions, education institutions, to change the way how things work and solve this 2 sigma problem, and therefore make sure all our learners get better and get good grades and A's, like I asked at the beginning, using this technology. So let me just play this video. It's a bit longer, so I'll not go into the full video.
Anyone who's been paying attention for the last few months has been seeing headlines like this, especially in education. The thesis has been students are going to be using ChatGPT and other forms of AI to cheat, do their assignments, they're not going to learn, and it's going to completely undermine education as we know it. Now, what I'm going to argue today is not only are there ways to mitigate all of that, if we put the right guardrails, we do the right things, we can mitigate it, but I think we're at the cusp of using AI for probably the biggest positive transformation that education has ever seen. And the way we're going to do that is by giving every student on the planet an artificially intelligent but amazing personal tutor, and we're going to give every teacher on the planet an amazing artificially intelligent teaching assistant. And just to appreciate how big of a deal it would be to give everyone a personal tutor, I show you this clip from Benjamin Bloom's 1984 2 Sigma study, or he called it the 2 Sigma problem. The 2 Sigma comes from 2 standard deviations, sigma the symbol for standard deviation, and he had good data that showed that, look, in a normal distribution, that's the one that you see in the traditional bell curve right in the middle, that's how the world kind of sorts itself out, that if you were to give personal one-to-one tutoring for students, that you can actually get a distribution that looks like that right. It says tutorial one-to-one with the asterisk, like that right distribution, a 2 standard deviation improvement. Just to put that in plain language, that could take your average student and turn them into an exceptional student. It can take your below average student and turn them into an above average student. Now, the reason why he framed it as a problem was he said, well, this is all good, but how do you actually scale group instruction this way? How do you actually give it to everyone in an economic way? What I'm about to show you is, I think, the first moves towards doing that. Obviously, we've been trying to approximate it in some way at Khan Academy for over a decade now, but I think we're at the cusp of accelerating it dramatically. I'm going to show you the early stages of what our AI, which we call Khan Migo, what it can now do, and maybe a little bit of where it is actually going. So this right over here is a traditional exercise that you or many of your children might have seen on Khan Academy. But what's new is that little bot thing at the right. And we'll start by seeing one of the very important safeguards, which is the conversation is recorded and viewable by your teacher. It's moderated actually by a second AI. And also, it does not tell you the answer. It is not a cheating tool. Notice, when the student says, tell me the answer, it says, I'm your tutor. What do you think is the next step for solving the problem? Now, if the student makes a mistake, and this will surprise people who think large language models are not good at mathematics, notice not only does it notice the mistake, it asks the student to explain their reasoning, but it's actually doing what I would say not just even an average tutor would do, but an excellent tutor would do. It's able to divine what is probably the misconception in that student's mind, that they probably didn't use the distributive properly. Remember, we need to distribute the -2 to both the 9 and the 2m inside of the parentheses. This to me is a very, very, very big deal, and it's not just in math. This is a computer programming exercise on Khan Academy where the student needs to make the clouds part. And so we can see the student starts defining a variable, left x minus minus. It only made the left cloud part, but then they can ask Khan Migo, what's going on? Why is only the left cloud moving? And it understands the code. It knows all the context of what the student is doing, and it understands that those ellipses are there to draw clouds, which I think is kind of mind-blowing. And it says, to make the right cloud move as well, try adding a line of code inside the draw function that increments the right x variable by 1 pixel in each frame. Now, this one is maybe even more amazing because we have a lot of math teachers. We've all been trying to teach the world to code, but there aren't a lot of computing teachers out there. And what you just saw, even when I'm tutoring my kids when they're learning to code, I can't help them this well, this fast, this is really going to be a super tutor. And it's not just exercises, it understands what you're watching. It understands the context of your video. It can answer the age-old question, why do I need to learn this? And it asks Socratically, well, what do you care about? And let's say the student says, I want to be a professional athlete. And it says, well, learning about the size of cells, which is what this video is on, that could be really useful for understanding nutrition and how your body works, etc. It can answer questions, it can quiz you, it can connect it to other ideas. You can now ask as many questions of a video as you could ever dream of. So,
maybe for the interest of time, I'll let that stop the video, but you can continue. The QR code is there, right? So anyone interested, listen to the full video, and it's in YouTube, the TED website. So you can go and watch the video. But the idea is this. The idea is it's possible to use generative AI to train it properly on subjects, and then let students to go and learn from it, obviously complementing, right? So what we are already doing as teachers. Yeah, so I have that here, right? So remember that we had to have the human factor, and we had to lead, teachers had to lead the learning anyway, but the tools can help. Things like the Khanmigo can help come in and help each student, and teachers, if they can identify and tell the student, okay, go and look at this, and the tools, things like generative AI and AI can come in and converse with the students and improve. Right? As of now, it's possible for us to go way beyond where we are, and in terms of solving this 2 sigma problem that Bloom identified long time back. Right? So that's it for me, and from me, and thank you very much. Sorry.
Thank you so much, sir, for your inspiring and informative keynote speech. We kindly request you to remain on stage now to present the token of appreciation to our distinguished keynote speaker. I would like to invite on stage Professor Bharata Dodankotua, Head Academic Development and Quality Assurance, accompanied by Madam Anne Pathiranage, Conference Co-Chair. Thank you so much, sir. So, ladies and gentlemen, this marks the end of yet another step of the long journey of research endeavors that will continue to unfold at NSBM. Thus, we bring the curtains down on ICOBI 2023, the International Conference on Business Innovation, held under the theme, Accelerating Societal Change Through Digital Transformation. On behalf of the organizing committee and as one of the conference co-chairs, it is my privilege to extend heartfelt thanks to all who have contributed to the success of this remarkable event. First and foremost, a sincere expression of gratitude goes out to our distinguished keynote speakers, Professor Archie C.A. Clements and Professor Roshan Gabriel Raghav. Your presence and insightful contributions, sir, have enriched our conference immeasurably. Thank you for sparing your valuable time from your hectic schedules to be with us and for sharing your inspiring words that have left a long-lasting impact on us. A special acknowledgement is due to Professor E.A. Veerasinghe, our esteemed Vice Chancellor, Professor Professor Chamindra Ratnayaka, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, and Professor Bharata Dodankotua, the driving force behind the success of this conference. Your leadership and unwavering support have been instrumental in making ICOBI 2023 a resounding success. And also, Professor Nilmini Liyanage, Dean, Faculty of Technology, University of Sri Javadanapura, and Professor M.G. Noel A.S. Fernando, Professor in Computer Science from University of Colombo School of Computing. Thank you so much, Madam and Sir, for gracing this occasion. I extend my gratitude to all our deans, heads and academics, and all non-academic staff who have provided immense support during the planning and execution of this conference. Then a heartfelt thank you to all our esteemed guests, both local and international presenters, and the students who have participated actively in this conference. Your engagement and enthusiasm have been pivotal in creating a vibrant atmosphere of knowledge exchange and collaboration. With that, I extend my gratitude to each one of you for being part of this transformative dialogue. Let the discussions commence, the ideas flow, and may the journey of accelerating societal change through digital transformation begin. Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, now please rise from your seats for the national anthem.
Sri Lanka Mata, Upper Sri Lanka, Namo, 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 Namo Mata. Sundara Siri Marini, Surani Ravi Sobhamana Lanka. Danya Ranaya Nikamal Paladu Piri Jaya Apahata Sapasiri Seta Sadhana Jivanaye Mata Iliganu Gana Apavakti Puja Namo Namo Mata Apasri